Okay, welcome. So we're gonna do something here. So we're just gonna kind of ramble and figure out what that focus might be.
Yeah, yeah. So I assigned to my book group that I do a a book. It's a really good book by this guy who went to Afghanistan. I mean, he was kind of crazy. He got himself like embedded. He snuck into Afghanistan and hooked up with the Mujahideen who were fighting the Soviets at the time. And but then and then he comes back for another trip. But the thing that's really cool about this is that he really um, loves the Afghan people.
Hmm.
And it's the book that I've read that really got that across in a way that it rung true to me.
Hmm.
Um,
And Afghanistan's been coming up for you. I've heard it in the song as well, given you spent, how many years did you spend as a child there?
two,
2 years.
two,
Yeah.
2 years, yeah. And I was 15 to 17, so it
Ah,
was kind of, you
yeah.
know,
Not a little kid. Yeah.
no, no. Um, so I started pulling out had a couple boxes with Afghanistan on them, and I couldn't remember what was in them. And part of it is my mother thought she was going to write a book based on the letters that she sent back to people here. And I have the originals of all those.
Mm.
And I don't want to try and make a book out of them, but people keep really trying to push me. But they're anyhow, it doesn't really matter. But and then I had another box that had all this stuff that was all these tourist um, department flyers that they had to tell people like shopping in Kabul and forests of Afghanistan, which I never saw any. But the thing is that it brought up a lot of old stuff. It was just like really because that was such a a pivotal time in my life. So I so I got all this stuff together, and I got myself all excited about it. We had to do it at my sister's because my place is too little to get all the people in. It's not that big, but it's like 10 people.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
For the book club?
yeah. Um, but I was afraid, I was kind of afraid to put it out there how I mean, I've talked about it before in the book group about how dear to my heart Afghanistan is
Mm.
and that time in my life. Um, uh,
Well, let's just welcome the tears. We may or may not end up doing self-inquiry, but the tenderness that just came up. Hello, hello. It is welcome here.
and the really nice thing is that the people in the book group really responded well to the book.
Hmm.
And I felt really bad because it was 500 pages long. Um, but most of it was really, he's a good writer, writes really visually. And so the people really got into it. And I wasn't sure that they were going to, especially this one woman who always has something snarky to say. Um, she actually ended up writing me an email after the book club, thanking me
Mm.
for sharing my time in Afghanistan with them. Um,
Mhm.
so I basically I got to tell stories. It was fun. You know how I like
Mhm.
stories. um, but then people get sort of lost in, oh, they wear these things. The women have to wear these things. If we go there, well, we have to do it. And
Mm.
it's hard for people to imagine that that's real and that people are living there. And it's so the thing about this book is that it reminded me of why I have hope for Afghanistan. Um, because there's this underlying tolerance. Like when we were there was a lot of tolerance between the different sects of Islam that exist there, and there's several different um, tribal affiliations. There's Turkmen and Uzbeks and anyhow, a bunch of them. And the point of all this, I think the point is that I seem to really be getting through some of the stuff that I've been hanging on for a long time.
Mm.
Like with my old boyfriend who I got in touch with recently, and it turned out he's had cancer, a couple of kinds of cancer, and you know I was with him for like 10 years in the 80s. So it's been a little while, but I have been holding a torch for him all this time. And it was really good for me to talk to him because I love him dearly, but I remember why it was that, it didn't work out between us. So I've let go of that, it seems like. I'm
Mm.
not, used to be
Mhm.
anytime I think about him, it would be like, oh, it was just traumatic kind of. And then there's this other woman who she actually, they were like family friends. And this girl who was like a year younger than me, who I was friends with, her parents.
I've been taking notes, so I'm just gonna screen share and bring the notes up. And I think what might
Okay,
be happening is we may end up doing self-inquiry or we may already be right in it. Um,
yeah.
let's see here. But what I'm hearing is
Mm.
the clearing through stuff. So I'm hearing there's a layer there with your love of Afghanistan and your concerns and your desire to help double click that for some of your American colleagues and friends, right? So that's something that's percolating and processing there with Afghanistan. And then your old boyfriend that you're holding the torch for, and then the balancing there of like, oh yeah, that's why we're not together, right? So that kind of percolating. So, and now what's starting to brew? Is there another layer that's coming to the
Well,
fore?
yeah, there is. So this girl who came and lived with us for a year over there, um, I I got a resentment about because she 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 was popular at school and I wasn't. That's kind of the gist of it. And and I felt like she kind of abandoned me. And I've been angry at her ever since then.
Mhm.
And I seem to be letting that go. It's like really miraculous. I mean, it's this whole total other feeling because I, I have a big old Afghan carpet and I'm having trouble with tripping over the end of it. So I wrote her an email out of nowhere and asked her if she wanted it because I don't have anybody else who wants it. My sister doesn't need it. My niece doesn't want it. Um, so I thought it would be great to have that go to her. And anyhow, that started this conversation, and it just it I, I can't believe how released from that resentment I am. It's the kind of thing you can't get rid of by going, okay, stop that.
Yes,
you
it's not
know,
left brain. Yeah.
yeah. Um,
If we are in inquiry, which I can kind of feel here, right? So just a bow. It's kind of the miracle, like the left brain can't do it. You can't make yourself, hey, shift your feelings. You've been harboring them for decades, right?
right.
So, but through this process, in this bigger process that you're in the midst of things kind of letting go and knots untangling and stuff, lo and behold, this one has, and it brings a feeling of release and relief. So, thank you, right, to this intelligence or whatever that's moving through things. Isn't that amazing? Isn't that
Yeah,
amazing that
yeah.
I let go too?
Grace. That's
Yeah,
what I think of
please.
it.
Yes, please. You are welcome here. Beautiful. Yeah. Hello, Grace. Welcome to
Yeah.
some.
And I kind of first got conscious of grace when I quit drinking
Mhm.
because boy, that's something that's like for ages I had wanted to quit drinking and I couldn't, you know.
Mhm.
But then I had some kind of grace that then I could, you know. Oh,
Yes, please.
that reminds me. Did you get my email about Saint Christina?
No, I don't think so.
Oh God, you have to look this up. Um, I got into some site that had a listing of all the saints and what they were patrons of, and what their deal was, what their miracle had been, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And Saint Christina the Astonishing, she she was different, definitely from another dimension or something. She would like, oh, I don't know. You have to find the story. She couldn't stand normal people because they smelled funny, and they thought she was dead, and then she came up and she flew up into the rafters, and just all this stuff. It's amazing. All those kind of folk tales basically is what they are, and it's like, wow, what is this all about? But I loved it. Saint Christina the Astonishing. I said, I know one of those.
No.
And the other thing I was thinking about talking about, I don't know if this is really suitable for this venue, is kind of debriefing about the shifting the power course. Do you think that would be an okay thing to talk about or no?
I wouldn't know until we got into it, but uh, typically, what that probably not.
Yeah,
The sessions would these are more like processing, right? For parallel processing.
right.
But I'm happy to debrief that, but maybe we could just turn off the recording because not everybody would have the context on what that is.
Right, right. Well, I don't I don't have to um
But there
I don't
might be
have to
some
do that right
cause
now.
or something, that fit in here,
Somewhat.
especially letting go of things and grace and
Uh
uh, astonishing folk tales. There might be some connections there.
uh Yeah, no, I don't think I want to launch into that right now. I have a lot of uh opposing feelings. What do we
Mhm.
call that? Ambivalence, I guess.
Mm.
It's really hard for me. I imagine it's hard for other people too.
Yes. Yes.
Um,
Let
so
me spell that wrong. Yeah, I think it's an A. Ambivalence, something like that. Okay, so I'm just gonna sum up what's happening, at least
okay.
what it feels like to me, right? Sometimes with inquiry, there's a big kind of intake process. And in a way, your intake process had layers to it, right? With inquiry, we meet something and then the next thing comes and the next thing comes and the next thing comes. And for me personally, because I have context on you, I can see how things are unfolding, right? So from the previous song you have been in, actually maybe the last two, Afghanistan has been kind of your folks in general and your youth in general has really been
Hmm.
emerging, right? You're also, is it still happening where you're in the last year of the life course?
Yeah, although um, I've let this annoyance with one of the things that we haven't had in that class is a small group that you were supposed to get together with,
Oh,
and
yeah.
there was a woman in this group who decided that she was running the group,
Mhm.
and I had a real problem with her,
Mhm.
and I couldn't figure out a way to tell her what was going on with me without like blaming her.
Mhm.
I hate situations like that.
Well,
We have
we could
to
work with
control.
that too, because that could judgment kind of stuff can be the projecting down. Uh,
Uh, oh yeah, that
but
was kind of
yeah, so there's a bit to potentially work with. Um, and so I know that that's a powerful course, right? We did a big process, I think, around death too, you and I, right, with self-inquiry. And then as Afghanistan's been kind of whooshing through your system, right? And how cool that you were able to bring the that book to your book club and
yeah.
and to have that kind of response come back from people too, and having it dovetail with you with your photos and with your things, right? And then wow, the whoosh of that happened with the old boyfriend and that processing through too and coming to a balance with the yay and the nay of that relationship.
Mm,
And then the woman who was the young girl who lived with you back in the day, and then again contacting her and the belongings and wanting one to be with her. Wow, that too, something that had been there for such a long time being released and
yeah.
resentment and anger let go, right? So, and you recognize grace. Grace is you're seeing it move through some of these all the ones you mentioned, right? And then your touchstone of, oh yeah, I felt that back when I had that same kind of miraculous unknotting of things happen with the drinking, right? So,
Right.
and then the St. Christina came in and the stuff around the shifting the power, the ambivalence, now ambivalence and annoyance are here, right? So, and I just, because I know a bit about the shifting the power, I've just bowed to that ambivalence because you're certainly not the first person to have ambivalence around um, uh,
Yeah.
deep, deep trauma. Yeah. And then here's this woman, even though I was asking in the context of the course that you're doing on death and all that that brings up, right? This annoyance with this woman, of course, group dynamic, stuff like that happen. Me as a processor, annoyances can always be one of those things. Whenever there's any activation, triggers, charge, right? It can show us it can be an entry point. It's a portal. It's one of the ways that we can do our inner work, right? Is noticing, as you know, in shifting the power, it's projecting up or projecting down. Where do we go up? Where do we go down? Right? So it might be a mix of that in here with the annoyance. I don't know. Yeah. So we're just welcoming all this, right? Like if we may or may not be doing inquiry, but if we are, regardless, welcome. Just welcoming everything that's just shown up here. And you've given me, we've got another satsang coming up. So this has given me really good context on what's been unfolding, what's been moving in
Yeah,
your life and in your process. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
this is nice. I
Are
will
you
have to use that.
interested? Are you interested in maybe exploring the annoyance? Because that, who knows, that might do something, you
Yeah,
know, at large, and also if it is creating a hindrance for you with this small group that's part of the bigger experience that you lined up for yourself, maybe it might help shift some of that.
yeah. I actually think that would be a good
Okay,
idea.
then I'm going to go grab that template. Let's see here.
Nice clean sheet.
Yeah, for some reason I'm like, yep, I think my intuition was saying let's have the full space. Okay. Okay, so we know that there's this I'll just put it in here. It's annoyance, right? It's dislike. It's certainly not a hated kind of thing, but there's a something going on in there. So we'll just put uh woman in small group. You've already told me there's annoyance. Put that over here. And if you're to poke on that annoyance, what annoys you? What qualities or behaviors or traits or whatever it is do you find annoying?
Was she, I I just feel really righteously that she shouldn't be, that this group should all be kind of on a even level playing field.
Mhm.
And to me, she set herself up as some kind of, she's always writing things about, well, so and so, I haven't been going to the meetings. And then she sends out these, and I said I was quitting the meeting. And still I'm getting these things of, well, we had a meeting and we did this and we did that. And the next meeting is going to be here and at this time. And we use some of the prompts from the course, and you should too, or something. It's not really that, but it's she's
Oh,
clearly
was there a
used to be
command? It kind of felt like a
a leader.
command with the should.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I interrupted you. Clearly what?
Oh, all the way back there. Oh, I know. Clearly she's a leader. She wants to be a leader at least, and in the correct situation, I think, and I know she's doing this from the best will in the world. She really is trying to help,
Mhm.
and I don't care. I hate it. I
So
don't know.
go into the hate. Yeah, we do have a hated quality.
Oh,
So what
yeah.
is that? And I would just reassure that when I'm not sure how much, and it's okay. I know that there's some ambivalence with shifting the power. So you probably, this is one of the big tools from shifting the power. So you may not have got here. Um, uh, but these, eventually we'll find these things within ourselves. and they're often very young aspects. So even what you just
Yeah.
so deliciously kind of got into about, I hate it, right? Kind of the
Mhm.
little kid stamping its foot a little bit. Play with that a
Right.
little bit. Maybe even put the hands on the hips, right? And what is it that you hate? Like, she's me.
She's bossing me around, you
Okay, so
know.
bossy. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And who does she think she is, you know?
So what would somebody think they are seemingly if they're bossing you around?
Better than me.
Okay.
They know more. Um, yeah. I, I'm sorry. Just let that ring out. Um,
You're doing great.
oh God, I feel,
I'll ask it one more time to see if I stir anything else up. So anything else that you dislike or even hate, that part of you that's like, oh, I hate it.
yeah.
Anything else that you hate? Hey, you're
Just, I really, I don't like being organized by somebody. This is reminding me of when long time ago I was working and I was like this woman's assistant kind of, and she would always volunteer both of us to do something. And I'd kind of be like, hmm. And so I finally told her, I really would like to make my own decisions about whether I'm going to do things or not. She took it okay, but it was very uncomfortable. Um, so it's just that taking my uh, it's it's something about just being told what to do. The thing that's kind of echoing on me right now is about my sister and that whole crazy dynamic where she thinks she's my parent sometimes, and I probably think she's my parent. She's standing in for my parents too. But I don't know what I'm doing down this rabbit hole.
well, because we go there, so you're probably already leading into some of the origin stuff. But like my sister standing in there for my parents, I'm going to have you come back if you care to.
Okay.
Taking your what? If it was my dream, it would be like taking my agency, taking my voice or something.
Yeah, yeah, and I have I have a real tendency in situations like this to um like go into flight kind of
Mhm. Mhm.
and just yeah, kind of not standing up for myself.
Yeah.
It just seems so petty though. I guess that doesn't matter.
Yeah, but let's go back, let's define it. So taking my what? If you're not standing up for yourself, they're taking your what? And you're letting them. They're taking your
Um
what?
uh, my like free will.
Okay, there we go. Yeah.
And I feel powerless
Mm.
over
So they're taking your
what's
power.
happening with them. Yeah, well, clearly I give them my power.
Hmm. Hmm.
So part of this is being angry at myself for doing
Yeah,
that.
this is going to be a tricky one because it's not such a clear cut one. It's got some real interesting nuance. Would you say that's the quality you see here? We come down to the quality you react to the most. What is out of all of this delicious stuff? What's the one that has the most zing for you? The quality you react to the most is what? Taking my power?
Yeah, I guess that's the big overarching
Mhm.
thing.
Okay, so I put that in red here down at the bottom because that's what we go for is we kind of circle around it, and then where's the real, right? Where's the real bottom line
Uh-huh.
zing? You, it's this. And you're also given a little bit of some origin stuff here. So we know where some of this has some roots potentially is
Uh,
with your 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 sister and then earlier with your folks. Okay,
right.
so before we leave this, oh, it's taking my power, and you go into flight and stuff. So where do you feel the dislike or hate, right? As you're interacting with her and she's doing what she's doing and you're having the reactions that you have, right? This old kind of conditioning here, boom, it kicks in. Where do you feel that aversion towards it, that dislike of this, somebody taking your power? Where do you
In
feel it in your body?
my
Yeah.
sh my shoulders.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it's kind of a place that I carry a lot of tension at all times, but
Right.
that's definitely where this is feeling and my heart.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And these, my guess is, we work with parts work in shifting the power of this particular tool. So my get when we have two parts of the
Right.
body, sometimes it's two parts, the two layers, right? So the first thing I know is the protector layer, right? Because it's protecting against that feeling of somebody taking your power. So you feel it in your shoulders. And then maybe this hard stuff might be the exile. It's just a guess. We'll see. Let's go
Yeah.
into the stuff in the shoulders a little bit and just see what we can find there. So there's this woman, she's doing her thing in that small group. And the essence of it, hey, I don't like it. She's taking my power. And I go into here's your escapee. I go into flight. So
Mm.
you book out of there, you haven't been back to the group. So that's one way to kind of keep yourself safe. If you go into the shoulders, is there anything else you notice in the shoulders? And it might sound weird, but we're just kind of saying hi to the shoulders because it's our entry place to that protector. Hey, protector, or some part
Mm.
is in here, right? Because that's where you feel this aversion to this taking your power business. And as
But
you come
that's
into contact with that, as you come into contact with the shoulders and that aversion in the shoulders to that kind of behavior, anything you notice?
um my shoulders kind of uh relaxed there
Hmm.
for a minute.
Okay.
Although now I'm kind of taking that back, not on purpose, but this reminds me of I had to go to the dentist and get three fillings the other day, and so it was a little long. It wasn't, it wasn't awful dental work, but it wasn't any fun. And I was trying to keep myself relaxed because it doesn't help if I make myself into a board. Um, and it would like go away and come back. I'd be able to
Mm.
do it for a while, and then I would find myself, just in the
Hmm.
chair.
So same thing, this protector here in the shoulders or the sensation in the shoulder kind of comes and goes
Yeah.
and comes back, goes away and comes back. Okay, so that's information. It goes away and it comes back. Might also be this flight thing. It kind of you flee and you come back or something. Who knows? Anything else as you come into the shoulders again and you notice it kind of goes away and it comes back? And we're just saying hello to the shoulders with this aversion to taking power. And this aversion kind of comes away, goes away, and comes back.
I, the thing that's dawning, that's coming to me
Hmm.
is shouldering a task, you know? But
Yeah. So this could potentially be, if it's a protector, maybe a doer.
yeah, oh, stop. My phone like never rings.
Mm, I can't hear it.
There.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Um,
Zoom nowadays, it muffles everything.
I know, I know.
So shouldering.
Um,
Notice is shouldering a task.
I think that I think this is a pattern I don't I don't like what the leader of something is doing, but I don't want to have to be the leader,
Mm,
you know?
mm,
So I don't want to take responsibility, but I want to be, like annoyed at them doing
mhm,
it.
mhm.
Except for in that case, there doesn't need to be anybody doing that, you know? It's not necessary.
Well, just come back. We're using this case in the now, so to speak, right?
Yeah,
We're using it that it'll help us connect to the larger conditioning, like you were saying, that's probably been around before this particular woman. So you don't want to take responsibility or be the leader, but you'll kind of be annoyed with the one who is.
yeah. And then I'll be snarky,
Ah, okay.
not to the leader, to somebody else, you
Oh,
know?
okay. You can get it off somewhere else. Now, do you have any sense? It might be too early to go here, but you can see this little age circle, right? So as you feel into this one in the
Ah,
shoulders, it goes away, it comes back, it's shouldering a task. It doesn't want to take the responsibility itself, the leadership and stuff. So it gets snarky, can't do it at the leader, but does it at somebody else, goes get snarky somewhere else. How old might that one be? Hello, hello. How old are you? You've been around in Carrie's conditioning. We all have conditioning, right? So right now we're looking at yours, and many of us will relate to this. But as you kind of feel this part that doesn't want to take the leadership but gets snarky, hey there, hello. How old are you? Look at you.
I like about 12 or 13.
Uh-huh.
Well,
Yeah.
not a little kid, but
Yeah.
a kid
Yeah.
still.
So, yeah. And often the protectors would be a little older than the exiles. So 12 to 13. Yeah. And we're getting to, you see this box underneath, it says get to know it a little more, right?
Uh,
Eventually, and you already made the connection too. The target part, right, is this quality that you most react to somebody else. In this case, it's taking my power. We got to go find a part in you that does that eventually. That's the target part. But sometimes we got to do some other things before we can go there. But you already
mm,
instantly made the connection. You kind of go, it's me taking my power. But we'll just kind of milk it here a little bit with this shoulder and the snarky one in there, and just see if there's anything else she wants us to know as we're getting to know her a little more.
that she's really afraid.
Ah, interesting. And any
I think
questions you want to ask her about that fear?
um, fear of being like overlooked, um, and feeling less than.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
She
I mean,
protects against that. She protects against the being overlooked and feeling less than. She's afraid of that.
yeah, and that's like the part that's pissed off, you know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. Protectors usually are. They're usually pissed off, right? That's why you're having a reaction to that behavior. However, my guess is it's going to be in the heart because you had two flash body symptoms flash at the same time. So it's defending against being overlooked and feeling less than, understandably. Most of us don't like those things and we would defend against them. So if it's afraid, what's its needs? What does it need if it's afraid of these things, being overlooked and feeling less than?
It it needs me. I'm kind of stuck. It needs me to um, not allow that,
Yeah.
or not even, yeah, to not not give my power away like
Uh-huh.
that.
So therefore, if you flip it, right, what? If you're not giving away your power, what are you?
Standing in my power.
Mm-hmm.
But there's this fear that I'm going to sort of set up a you know this is me, this is what um my boundaries and stuff. I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought.
That happens when we get into this deeper kind of subconscious stuff. It starts to
Yeah,
fade on us. Also, that can be, might be another part itself that gets a little fuzzy, right? That can't hold it. Not unusual. Some people get sleepy, some people get numb,
yeah,
right? So it can kind of like that ambivalence we were talking about is kind of, we don't want to go there. So it does different
right.
things. So there may be that. So I'm just going to note it. How would we define what just happened? It just kind of gets fuzzy, or what is it? I don't know.
Um, so I'm kind of lost now.
Yeah. So let's just put lost. That might be a part
Yeah,
itself. Yeah. Yeah. It's a common, I've encountered it a lot. It can be one of the cast of characters, right? So, hello, lost. You're welcome here. So there's a little part in there potentially that's part of the conditioning, right? So now I'm going to go back. Thank you to the shoulders, because that led you really well to the 12, 13-year-old, right?
mhm.
Who's defending against, being overlooked and less than. And so that's the kind of little exile over here. And I'm going to guess the stuff going on in the heart might be part of that.
that at that age, I was dealing with a lot of um, like jealousy of my mother, um, and not feeling seen by her.
Okay.
And there was this whole thing. I don't know exactly how old I was. I was probably a little bit older, like maybe 14, and she and I kind of got into this battle over a man. Um, and the man happened to be a guy who was in the novitiate to become a priest. Oh, so screwy. And somehow, um, yeah, I was, I thought he was really great and, like puppy love. And here's this full grown woman, how can I compete against that? I can't, it's, um, yeah, so and that was probably about the time that I started, getting depressed, um, more frequently. Um, yeah,
Letting it down. So we're just welcoming, right? As you just kind of peel the layers and get in touch here. Might lead us to the same place, but initially when I asked you, where do you feel the hate or dislike about taking my power? You told me two things. The first one, you told me my shoulders, and then you said my heart. So the first one we followed was the shoulders, and it's led us here, step by step by step, right? And it's taken
hmm
you to this 12, 13-year-old period. And it's puberty. Like what an amazingly powerful, confusing, incredible time. And there's a talk about a power dynamic, right? Going on with your mother. And it's also got religious tones in it too. So, and sexuality, the budding of
yeah,
sexuality, right? So talk about a potent mix and
yeah.
depression. And we know that that's been a challenge, right? That's been a lifelong theme. So, wow, here's where it began. So just a deep, me with the satsang stuff, right? It's just a bow in terms of honor and respect. Like, wow, we just entered into a very potent crossroads in your life. Power of this template. Now we're tracking all that, and it may continue to percolate here. But now we're just going back to this heart. There were two reactions. And this 12, 13-year-old is protecting, it's guarding. In the language of shifting the power, we talk about the exiles, right? Those protectors don't want to go to those raw emotions. And so
Uh,
it's afraid, it doesn't want to be overlooked. So probably the being overlooked is part of it. And it doesn't want to feel less than. And it certainly doesn't like anybody taking its power. And so it reminded you at first about your sister who's standing in for your parents at the age you are now, or somewhere along in life. And you go into flight and everything. So if we go into let's go see what's in the heart, right? You check the shoulders. So, hey, heart, you don't like this taking my power, what this woman in this small group represents. So just like you did with the shoulders, you went and made contact with it. Let's go make contact with that heart, who also doesn't like this woman and the dynamics happening, but it probably has a different take than the shoulders does. So what's going on for you, heart, as you come in contact with it?
Um, the thing that's coming up is I'm afraid I'm afraid nobody's going to like me.
Mhm.
And I feel very confused about kind of when I'm doing things that are like standing up for myself,
Mhm.
and when I'm kind of just getting into being cranky, sort of. Um, there's like this, there's like this little rock
Mhm.
at the core of my heart,
Mhm.
a place that I'm guarding really, um, because I'm worried about this stuff, about being made to feel less than.
Yeah. So this vulnerability there and pain.
Oh
I'm just
yeah,
shut my blind because the light comes in at this time of the
yeah.
afternoons. So just continuing with the heart, just hello, look at you, right? You got a protector up there in the shoulders, but here's the exile, the raw emotions there in the
Uh,
heart. There's a littler one probably. Can you get a feel of her age? How old is this one?
uh, it's it's really young.
Yeah.
I mean, whether I I think it's probably about 5 or 6.
Mhm.
And when I was really young like that, um, there's a family story that I had been out playing and I came running back into the house and ran to my mom and said, "Everybody loves me." So there was this, it's like the innocence.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and somewhere right in that kind of age, uh, things stopped being so kind of magical,
Yeah.
Um, and it was, I mean, that magicalness was kind of really, not literally, but beaten out of me in Catholic school.
Mm-hmm.
It was
Mm-hmm.
this huge, can't think of the word. Um, it was a, like, I went into being there, and that was like when I was about 10. And they would tell us about talk about miracles and saints and stuff were back there. And
Mm-hmm.
I was really happy with having the stories and stuff be true. Um,
Yes.
and when I figured out they weren't, I was betrayed. That's the word I'm thinking of. Just how could you do that? Tell me that. And what's the matter with you? Don't you know the difference between reality and I didn't want reality either. I don't know. I feel like I'm spinning around in my head.
Well, you got many parts operating at the same time. So let me just help tease it out. So there's two exiles. The first one I would offer that love, innocence, right?
Hmm,
The
yeah,
innocent child and love, those are exiled. And innocence, they're so young. And you said she's 5, 6, somewhere around there. And then
yeah,
magic with the Catholic school and just frankly, it was like, I always know, no matter what's going on, that it's relevant. So when you brought up St. Christina, yes, I know it's a sweet level connected to me too, right?
right,
Um, but I have to go bring up the other sheet to see the exact wording that you said. But astonishing folk tales, right? So me too. Half my family's Catholic. My mom had some issues with it, so she kind of by-stepped me getting too deeply into it.
uh-huh,
But I can certainly relate. And at that age I am now, kind of doing especially with the mystics, the Catholic mystics talk about magic, right? Like
right,
Teresa the Avalon or Avali, yeah.
right,
Um, uh, so there is grace, there is magic, right? In the Catholic faith. And unfortunately, with some of the other trappings that come with it, that stuff
right.
gets squashed. So it sounds like that happened for you. So magic got exiled there at 10, 11. And then 5, 6 is this love, like this innocence. Everybody loves me, right? So the thing with the exiles, talk about needs, right? Is we we want to integrate it in. We want to integrate in the raw feelings, right? Bring them back. So love, everybody loves me, got exiled at 5, 6. Boy, that's a beautiful one to bring back.
Mm,
And then magic got squashed at 10, 11. And not just magic, but it's like spiritual something, right? It's in the context of the saints and the stories and stuff, right? And you
right.
were beautifully connected to it. And then that got interfered with. It got smushed, right? And it's so beautiful. So that too, talk about needs here. So if we were to translate it into the needs, what are the needs around this exile, around the innocent, everybody loves me, and this betrayed by the Catholic Church? What are the needs? Because you can give these to yourself now as we get them clear, right? This becomes the homework in a way, the needs.
Mm. Um, I need to feel like I'm not going to abandon myself.
Right, right.
Um,
So if you're not abandoning yourself, what are you doing?
I'm I'm like again standing in my power.
Hmm.
Um,
being with yourself, if you're not abandoning.
Hmm.
The opposite of abandonment for me would be like being or presence or something. Like you're
Yeah.
there, right? Instead of booking out, you're there with. So with your innocence, with that love.
Yeah, it's that that whole image makes I feel so much love towards that little girl. You know,
Mhm.
it really
Yes.
touches me. Um, and it's so sad that she had to go away, you know?
Yes. Yes. So love to my, the need is love, love to my innocent little girl.
Yes. And love to the 12 or 13-year old having to deal with all these, these questions of sexuality and growing up in boundaries. Um, mm, that's interesting. My brother is coming up. Um, I don't know. He may be just sticking his nose in to be annoying. Uh,
Well, we're
but
on
there was
needs. So something, okay, go ahead. Something's connecting.
um, he's like 3 years older than me, and he was like somebody gave him too much testosterone, and he was he was just kind of hyper sexual, and uh, he never abused me, but it was kind of there that and my father was not in a lot of ways wasn't didn't forward a lot of male energy, you know.
Mhm. So he kind of fell down on it, and your brother like over.
Overcompensated, yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
And I remember one time Tim came up behind me and kissed me on the back of the neck, and that just kind of shot right through me. And it was kind of one of the things that reminded me that, or got me, made me aware of sexual feelings, I think. I mean, I was quite naive um, at that age. Uh,
Did you say, I'm sorry I didn't write it down. And now I want to get the right language. Maybe it was overly masculine as opposed to overly sexual, but you had described your brother as overly.
um, um, uh, yeah, overly sexual.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is where in shifting the power, I can kind of channel Anneke, right? So oftentimes, and if you watch any of the case studies, you'll see it, um, right? When you're in that program, you have access to the projecting up and the projecting down. So there's these tutorial moments. So this is just an opportunity for me to talk to your younger self and to talk to your now self to say, yes, even though as much as you recall and remember that the boundary wasn't crossed into physical, being around a sibling who's a couple years older than you, who's overtly sexual, right? Who's sexual in a strange kind of way. Also with the father where it's dampened and the brother where it's, that's confusing. That's got some stuff, especially in a typically the Catholic context, it would also be very repressed, right? And um, tabooed and judged, etc. Right? So there's a lot there in that faith, most faiths, but it's kind of famous for it, right? Around the sexuality challenges.
Yeah.
So just it's not nothing, is what I'm saying, right?
Uh,
It is something. And so energetic energy, I guess that's an oxymoron, but or double whatever. Energy is something in and of itself. And having the back of your neck kissed, it is an erogenous zone, right? And so that zing that you're speaking to, um, not really appropriate in a brother sister
yeah,
context,
yeah,
right?
yeah, that's true.
Whether he's innocent to that or not. Um, so, but just to you and to your young teen in there, she knew when that happened, she felt it. So we're just letting her know she's right, that the reason that she was confused or that it was uh, shocking,
Mm,
she had every right to her feelings. She wasn't doing anything wrong by that. She didn't understand it, like you said, because she was naive and she was young, right? But her body did.
right. Yeah. I mean, I went through puberty young. I got my period when I was 10 years old.
Yeah.
So, um, and I
Well,
wasn't ready for it, you
well,
know.
even more so, right? Because look at the difference between 10, say like 12 or 13 or something,
Yeah.
right? So just aw, sweetheart to her, right? And oh my goodness, confusing is one of the words on here. And also the depression, the mother and the jealousy and that weird stuff happening too. Boy, there was a big soup to swim in here. There was a lot happening with family members and with the context of the family and the Catholic faith, that was very ripe during this time period.
And I always had the sense that or she may have said something to me at some point that mom would have liked to have been with a man who was more sexual.
Uh,
Um,
yeah.
so, and I think that's part of the thing that got set up between my brother and my mother, who uh, they argued nonstop at dinner time, especially. Every dinner, we'd end up with this shouting match,
Mm.
and I think it's the two of them were a lot alike, you know. Um,
Well, there was also a lot of undiscussed and maybe unconscious sexual undertones happening at that time. Maybe I'm not saying between them or maybe between them, but just there was unresolved stuff. There was stuff in the family atmosphere. So we're just letting your 10, 11, 12, 13-year-old, right? Because that tween years is very present
right.
here. Session, the young ones is there too, but this precious tweened kind of time, right? Where you start to bloom into puberty and sexuality comes online. And she's in a protected kind of naive milieu. with the Catholic faith and everything. You're just being with her. I even can feel my hand like holding a hand, right? You could just hold her hand and just agree with her and just validating her feelings or the sensations and stuff in her body, the things that she likes, the things that she doesn't like, right? She had a lot going on. And she didn't do anything wrong. Her reactions are make total sense when you understand the context of what's happening. Of course, it's confusing for her. So you and we were being the now adult selves who are coming in, right? The parental self from the language with Annika's course. We're being the
Uh-huh.
parental self energy to her because she didn't have it because her mom had another thing going on, right? With her relationship and stuff, it sounds like. And, children who are coming online. So with their sexuality and stuff. So
Mhm.
you got left out in the mix here. So now
Well, that's
you're bringing your now adult self to her
mm,
with me here as backup, right? And the sanctity of the work here to just be with her, just letting her know, I'm here, I'm here. This is the needs, right? Love to your sexual self or to your tween self, right? This confusion, and you're coming in because there was a void. She was, you said the word lost. So that's part of the uh, soup here with the parts that yeah, understandably they're lost. There's not a lot of direction, right? There's not a lot of support, guidance for you.
yeah, there's a classic time when I got my period and I needed help. And I don't think I'd really been aware of this possibility.
Mhm. Well, that's a shock. Yeah.
And my mother, uh, when I told her that I didn't know about it, she says, "Oh, I thought we told you about that a long time ago."
Aw.
Uh,
So we're with her right now, right? We're with her right now, holding her hand. Oh, sweetie. So sorry. It's shocking and confusing and very abrupt. And then minimization or offloading of responsibility or whatever you want to call it with mom. Ouch. So you now, this is the need, right, of being with her. We can be with her right now. And as you continue along, right, this will probably continue to ripple, right? But you bringing the missing ingredient now. Now we can do this wonderful time travel stuff, right? From your now adult self can travel back in time and, be this loving presence for that young girl, 10 years old. And nobody explained anything to her. And then they're like, oh, well, I thought we did.
yeah. Well, I mean, my mother said to me at one point when I was probably in the 10, 11 age that she had been like over her wanting to mother by the time I came around. Um,
Oh,
so I was like, oh, great. Yeah. I was really welcomed, huh?
well, then now here's part of the lost, lost or even left out. And did she literally say that to you at 10, 11, or did she
Yeah.
tell you, ow,
No.
okay. So that,
Yeah.
so
Well,
the exile's communicating with us, right? So as we're meeting her, now she's telling us, oh, and don't forget, she told me this too.
yeah.
So my heart is wide open. How's your now adult self as you're coming back to be with her? She's 10, 11 years old, and her mom basically says, when you came along, I was over being a parent. And you're the youngest, right? Are you the youngest?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So she tells her baby, when you came along, I was kind of over it. Ouch.
Yeah. Yeah. Huge ouch.
So here's this love again, right? That's this mothering even.
Hmm. Yeah,
So love to my innocent little girl, but it's also mothering, right? Maternal mothering,
yeah, that, yeah,
not just
that,
to the little girl, but to the older girls too.
yeah,
So that's their needs.
yeah. They,
Mothering.
yeah, a mother that's there for her,
Hmm. Hmm.
for them.
Yes. I'm going to put that up here. A mother that is there for them.
And she could be very loving
Hmm.
sometimes.
Yep.
So it was, and and
How
she's
about consistent then? A consistent mother.
consistent would be good, yes, because I never knew what I was going to get. And my
Right.
sister has said that too, you know. Sometimes she would be great. She'd be very, very insightful. And I've been thinking about her a lot uh, with reading the Afghan stuff because she was amazing. She, I mean, not just that, she did such amazing things in her life. Raising me was not one of them, you know. Uh,
Yes. And so what's coming out, and this is coming out so much more directly and right here for us. It's I've seen it in echoes of the work you've been doing in satsang all along, right? But boy, it's here very loud and clear. So for you, a consistent mother that is there for them, that energy, bringing consistent mothering to these parts of yourself.
yeah, and there's a like literal part of that, which I think is really important, that has to do with like physically taking care of myself,
Right?
like
Right.
mothering myself in that way.
Yes. Yes, exactly.
And I have not been doing well with that. So I think there's probably some of that stuff in there.
Yeah, it's making a much more conscious here, and also just the context, right, about why this has been difficult. There's a deficit. There's been a legitimate deficit. I'm not bashing mom because mom's got her own context. If I was
Right,
drawing it all out and doing shifting with her, and it would go back and there'd be ancestral and kind of world context stuff, right?
right.
So some generational trauma here, but the bottom line is that you missed out.
Yeah, I was kind of made to grow up really, really young. Like,
Yeah.
where, you know, when we went to Afghanistan, that was I had to be had to be kind of you know, like look out for myself a
Hmm.
lot.
Wow.
Um, and then after the 2 years in Afghanistan, my parents took me to England, left me there, went back to Afghanistan, and I went to a Quaker boarding school in York. Um, and this, you know, I felt abandoned, and both my siblings have this abandonment issue. I know it's
Hmm.
not just me.
Yeah. Because there was. It's not
Yeah, yeah,
fake. It's not fake.
and boundary stuff.
Yeah. How old are you in the Quaker boarding school?
Like 17, it was,
Yeah.
well, would have been my last year of high school.
Yep.
And then I like took myself at Christmas. We had a month off, and our friend Peaches, who had been a Peace Corps volunteer in Afghanistan, was living in Tunisia then. So I got myself from York, England to Tunisia all by myself, you know.
Wow. Yeah.
It's kind of crazy. And it was even I missed a flight because of the weather, and I had to find my way around Paris by myself for a day. Yeah, so I think there was part of my childhood that just didn't happen, you know?
That's neglectful.
Yeah. I mean, I think you know, it's like all bad things. I think there is stuff that I learned out of that I've
Sure. Makes you very independent
yeah.
and cultured and travel and everything.
Yeah, I mean, I'm grateful that I had all those
Mhm.
experience and
It's yes, and it's
experiences.
both,
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. It doesn't have to be one or the other.
right?
Yeah, I think that um me and one or more of these little ones need to just cuddle for a while.
Exactly. Yeah, you know my work fuller, so you know the orphan rescue, right? So what we've identified is different layers of orphan rescue. And yes, you could come and cuddle with them, or you may even want to do alpha mind, right? If you haven't created a sanctuary. You can do it in
No,
other ways, like what we do in shifting the power. But in my fuller practice, I have the alpha mind, which is a way, and you already have it set up because you've been in satsang. So there might be
yeah,
other places they want to go. But I would suggest, don't leave them in those moments of time. You can go meet them and get some fuller information. But each one, we've been getting some pretty good information. We want to get the information first, so your left brain understands the
yeah,
context. Right? And understands the wounding, but it has been coming loud and clear. I will sometimes, where there's multiple exiles, multiple orphans here, it's like a beaded necklace in a way. Each of them are a bead. So you have the youngest one is the 5, 6 year old, um, and you have the 10, 11 era. She also, this one, she's telling you that she was over being a parent, your mother was at 10, 11. So not just the magic, but I'm going to put parenting, mothering is exile. Make sure I get that word in here.
yeah,
Uh, and, just nurturing and what's the opposite of neglect, attention, paying
yeah,
attention. Yeah. Mothering attention. And then this becomes our task now, right? Is to really take this over. So exactly that there's a lot of orphan rescue work here for you. It's really raising to the surface and to really bring your mothering to them now and be there, a consistent mother that is there for them. Your young
yeah,
ones, your tweens, and also your teenager, right? All the way up to 17, your whole childhood. Now I'm going to swing us back to what started, right? And now it's kind of I can feel myself bowing to this woman in the small group because look what this uncovered, right?
yeah, yeah.
Now we return back to the taking my power, right? The quality you most reacted to. Now we come to the finding the target part. So where can you find that you have taken your power? Like you're taking my power.
Where where I'm uh, taking my power. Oh, that is confusing me,
Yeah.
or somebody doesn't want to look at that.
Yeah, here's the ambivalence, right? It's such a brave course. Any of this work is brave, but shifting the power is really takes courage. And that kind of in and out you're talking about, right? You kind of, and it was there for you in your attendance too, in and out. You're not the only one, Carrie. It's a normal thing that can happen with that. And so here it is again, I'm not quite ready to go there. So we can be gentle with it. It doesn't have to all happen now, and you can continue to ponder this, but I'll just ask it again. And remember, it's going to be a little, right? It's usually a younger part of us. So it's not like this big bad thing. Um, and it can be very understandable, but we're just finding because it's projection, right? It gets projected. It bugs you in somebody else out there because and for any of us, same for me when I do this work on myself, it bugs me out there because it's me. And
Uh-huh.
as we can own it within ourselves, right, something will integrate in and then it will soften it on the outside. We won't be as triggered. Doesn't mean we have to ignore it or anything along those lines, right? There still may be a role or something to do with these things, but it takes the edge off, right? Because all this stuff, see what's here? All this that came out is connected to that thing that you see over there in that other woman. And she may, very represent it very nicely.
Yeah,
However,
she's
where can
well.
you find that you do the same thing? Where can you find that you're taking your
Uh,
power?
well, I would say first off that I don't ever do that. Um,
And humor is a wonderful protector. Got that one myself too. Deep bow to humor. Thank you. Thank you.
yeah. I don't remember what I was thinking about.
Yeah, I'll bring it back to you. This is how it goes. This is we get fuzzy, right? When we're right on it. So we're looking for a target part. We're looking for a part within you that takes your own power.
Well, I found myself fairly recently being able to kind of stand up to my sister more,
Mhm, mhm.
um, in in a loving way, you know.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
I the only thing I had been able to come up with before in dealing with her was screaming at her,
Mm.
which isn't good for either of us. And I recently she has changed her behavior also, I think.
So you can see, and here we're back to sister, right? Because I thought we might be because you said it back about going into flight. It's telling me what to do, like my sister who stands in for my parents. So then we went into your parental level, and we also connected with your brother level. Now here's sister. So now we come back to sister. So there's something in this, you being the younger sister or something, right? You're the baby here. So, and of course, this isn't a blame thing, especially at these young ages, right?
uh,
So we're not saying, oh, bad you, look at that, you took your own power. No, you're a little kid, but as a little child in this dynamic, right? There's something there with your sister. It's changing now because you see you let it go, go, go until it builds enough, and then the anger, maybe somewhat overly zealous comes out, right? So back, you've said the word boundaries multiple times. So it's not unusual for somebody who has, myself included, weaker boundaries that will and is more of a caregiver kind of type, you'll just kind of let them, they are amorphous until they're rigid, right? So kind of a classic MO there. So just coming back to that younger one who gives away her power.
So, I mean, I don't see that happening
Maybe it's an older one.
with my youngest one. Um,
Right. Maybe it's an older one. Yeah, exactly. So, do you still do it now? At the
give
age,
my
maybe
power
you
away.
find it now with the age that you're at. Do you still give away your power?
Yeah,
Are you taking
yeah.
your own power?
No, it's like I, um,
How about look at the rest of these words and you might be able to find it in there, right? Let's um, leader, bossy, better than, no more, organized.
well, I,
Anywhere where you're not doing those things and maybe you could or should be.
um, yeah, I mean, I can be a leader.
But it's for you. It's not a word, it is taking your power, right? So this woman was
Yeah.
being a leader of you. She was being bossy. She was better than knowing more and organizing you. So it's not so much for others as I read it. It's more for yourself, being a leader of you, being the boss of you, owning your own better than, owning your own knowing more, organizing yourself. I know that's been a big one for you because you've been working with stuff for a while, right? So this is like disowned. Your own leadership is disowned of yourself, your own biasness of yourself, your own being better than, that you know best for you. You know more about you. You can organize you.
I really see um, that not organized part has real roots
Yeah.
back there instead of it's really easy for me to just go into shame and
Right, of course. And I'm glad you're not. Yeah, because this is at least the way I'm holding it. There's no shame in my heart to this all. There's great compassion and empathy. But this how this little girl dynamic, understandably got set up, and it's played out throughout your life, and you're bringing it up into consciousness now as you're heroically doing this work too around, death and mortality and end of life. So all these things are coming to the surface, right? To come into consciousness. And you like taking your power.
yeah, I'm afraid that I'm not going to be if I take my power, I'm going to like fail at using it right or something like that.
Yeah.
Uh,
So you don't take it because you have fear of failure.
yeah, yeah.
Or yeah. So you finding this part who's afraid to take it, who's afraid to take my own power and kind of letting somebody else be the leader, even if you get snappy at them and stuff. Who's afraid to take my own, to be my own leader. What if I fail? What if I fail or misuse it?
Right.
Just again, great compassion. No need to go into the shame. If the shame comes, we just meet the shame. But we're just like, wow, what do you know? You're owning it. You're finding where do you take your own power because you don't rise into, therefore, you squash your own power in a way, taking a power away from yourself because you're afraid about what you're going to do with it.
Hmm.
Scary to be
Yeah,
the
that's interesting. I never thought of it as being that I was the part about worrying that I was that I'm going to use my power in a bad way. Um, it never occurred to me that that's in there.
But that's a legit thing too, right? Like you're saying, when you do finally have it out with your sister occasionally, then it really erupts, right? So the rigid kind of boundaries come out, and that would be misuse, right? So you don't want to go into the abuse side of the spectrum with power. So, there's a lot of truth to that, especially because we're dealing with young consciousness, right? It's like, oh, and frankly, we called our course shifting the power. Power is a loaded word, right?
Yeah,
So it's certainly something to work through, to own it in its healthy way, because it's so misused in the world at large, right? And especially in abuse dynamics. So, but but you know how there's the phrase toxic masculine, right? So it's kind of the same thing. No, it's healthy. There's the masculinity is not just toxic. Yes, there's a spectrum where masculinity can be toxic, but masculinity can also be beautiful, right? Healthy, wonderful. So
yeah,
same with
yeah.
power, right? Doesn't mean it has to be toxic. True power would be respectful, would be fair, would be just, would have discernment.
I've been thinking a lot about kind of my history of relationships and why did I pick those people, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Because I just yeah, I don't know. That's kind of a whole
Could that be another way that you take your power in terms of what your relationship dynamic has tended to be? By by those choices, you end up taking your own power.
yeah, and at this point I'm having the way that I'm using my power is to hide it, you
Right,
know.
right,
Um,
exactly. So that's a way of taking it. I hide my power. That's how you take it. Yeah.
which keeps me safe, you know.
Yeah. Well, you don't step fully into it and then, take the full responsibility, right? Good, bad, and ugly of it. But I would say I certainly sensed leadership in you, being a leader. I could see bossy, better than, knowing more, organized, like chop chop. I know it, right? Not in a bad way. I mean, yes, those things can go over into toxicity, and maybe there are places that you have done that. I could certainly, as I go through my own journey of power, there's certainly places where I could have those same things for myself.
Mm.
But it's like we're bringing them back home. It's not just out there; it's in here. And so, if we look at all this, right, righteous annoyance, taking
Right.
my taking my free will. Oh, I've been taking my own free will. I've been taking my power. I've been letting other people make decisions for me. I've been letting others tell me what to do, like my sister who stands in for my parents. And I, go into flight rather than assume my power. And so you're owning it. Yep, I can find the target part. I take my power because I hide it. And I don't fully step out and be the leader of my own life and assume the responsibility.
Yeah,
Understandable, but why it's been difficult. So this orphan work, there's a wonderful deep layer of orphan work for you to do.
yeah. I'm really glad that I feel like this is kind of the first time that I've really kind of been able to for myself get more of a sense of what the parts work is about, you know.
Yeah,
Because I've been kind of going, what is it? And I knew that I needed to do it, to see it,
yeah, yeah.
because it seems like such a powerful
Well, and
um
it's not, and a lot of people, you'll hear this in that program, and people beautifully admit it, that sometimes they come two, three times, right? Um, we've just ran our third one, which you were in, and some of the people that said, "Oh yeah, I've never done an exercise," right? So here we have all these things we lay on the coffee table. You know me with my tools, right? It's the tools. And people have not picked them up and done the tools. So it's easy in the course to sit back and no judgment, right? Unconditional model. There may be an intelligence to that, right? Where just the intellect wants to be there and sit and watch, and take it in at that level. Heck knows there's a lot to take in just at the intellectual level, right? Uh, Anneka's story and her healing path and her points of view on things are brilliant. So a lot of people will come and just take that in. And
yeah,
the skin really gets in the game, so to speak, when you pick up those things that were laying on the coffee table by doing the privilege questionnaire, right? By doing the power dynamics uh, questions, by doing this, looking for where you judge, and you so beautifully and courageously came in, right? You're like, that woman's annoying. Ding, ding, ding. There's an entry, right? There's projecting down. And we could,
yeah,
the other one is, where do you project up, right? You did a nice projecting up. It may not have funny energy, right? To me, to the Saint Christina, I'll just tell you, no, not a saint. Um, um, uh, Sometimes it's there and kind of facilitator, teacher, right?
right.
In every course, people will project on me or project on Anneke, and we do our best to work with it. So it may not be me that you're projecting up on, but you can find other people where you're like, oh my God, they're so amazing, they're so great at what
Oh
they
yeah,
do, right? And that's also a way, just like this projecting down. Now we offload stuff that's about us, but in that case, it's the golden projection, right? It's the good stuff about us. And we're
yeah,
projecting it out onto somebody else, right? Instead of like bringing it back and owning it. In this situation, it's the so-called negative, where we judge somebody else and do the finger pointing, them, right? And then it's this heroic, courageous. This is where it really moves down from the head, right, into the body. And this is where the humility that we talk about in shifting the power comes in too, right? It's humble work. Yeah. And I know too, because I do it so much. Anytime I'm like, me, I can just write the first things like, there, this, and this, and this. I don't even have to do the rest of it. Although it's good to do the rest of it because I'll get it deeper. Right. But I'll go, oh shit, that's me. Right.
yeah,
So,
exactly.
yeah, yeah.
It's like, oh, I didn't want that to be me.
Yes. And as you've beautifully demonstrated, right, it comes from a younger place. And often it's that child. That's the same stuff that we're talking about in, the global controllers too. It can be in really awful forms, but it's younger stuff that's being projected out, that's unconsciously, being reacted from. So same here. Um, you come by it honestly, right? And it's to bring the parental self energy to these orphans, right? That have been laying in wait, needing mothering, right? That's the next layer of inner work, right? Is really this needs, standing in my power, love to my innocent little girl, bringing the maternal mother, love to my sexual self, bringing the maternal mother there.
Yeah.
Your magical self, right? The magic of spirituality. That's another one to
Yeah.
delve back into that, to resurrect that, bring it back from being squashed and those stories being so betrayed, to find the stories where you can find it again and
Yeah.
back. So I'll leave it there because that's,
Yeah.
you know, there's lots to uh, contemplate. And as you're opening today, right, shows, I know that things percolate
Yeah.
with you, right? As things are, you're doing the inner work and
Yeah.
you are
I
doing
do
it
feel
because you're moving through different things. And so now this whole layer is coming up to move through.
yeah, I feel really quite proud about actually and like kind of amazed that, oh, it really works. It
Yeah.
really works for me to tease this out and whatever it is that we're doing. And yeah, but that, yeah, I mean, I really like that magical place. I'd like to go there, but see, it's a little bit of a place I have to be careful because
Right.
I can kind of lose it.
Well,
Um,
just like we were talking about with the toxic power, right? Healthy power. So not toxic magic, healthy magic.
yeah, 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 yeah,
Not spiritual bypass or anything like that, or not fantasy, unhealthy fantasy. So no, grounded, please.
yeah.
Grounded magic. Yeah.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. Yeah, good. Good stuff.